I've just finished watching Obama's State of the Union message, and it was well delivered. It certainly was theatrically sound. But there was a fundamental contradiction that ran through the entire speech. The specifics he was proposing would make the generalities impossible to achieve. He spoke of the need to grow the middle class, of the need to increase jobs, of the need to bring in manufacturing in the United States. And then in the very next breath, he talks about strengthening government regulations on the environment and on occupational safety, both of which are driving jobs out of the United States and making it almost impossible for manufacturing to expand. He spoke about the importance of regenerating the American economy. And then in the next breath, he spoke about increasing federal spending, increasing federal borrowing, and increasing federal taxation, all of which will nullify the goal that he seeks to achieve, or at least that he says he seeks to achieve. One of the fascinating examples of that is that when he speaks about education, he talks about the need to increase the educational attainment of American children. But then he does nothing to address the fundamental issue, which is the need for school choice and the need for education reform so that the teachers' union no longer blocks the educational attainment that he's seeking. What Obama really proposes is a series of minor steps which are being financed and structured by major regulations and major new spending that will make the growth that he seeks to achieve largely impossible. The one thing that I think was good about the speech was on immigration reform. He did indicate that he would support legislation that to become citizens you had to go to the back of the line in your country and then wait until your turn came. That's a pivotal point, and it was very important that Obama made that. He speaks in there about having families borrow the money to be able to get housing. And the FHA is doing exactly the same stuff now that Fannie Mae did under Clinton and under Bush, giving loans to families that can't possibly be repaid, just so that the home ownership stats can go up and they can have the illusion of progress, even though we know that this stuff is going to come crashing down around our ears. He called for universal preschooling, saying that only 40% of people had access to it. He wanted to make it 100%. That would be a gigantic expenditure. And the fact of the matter is that there is no evidence that those who go to preschools are more likely to graduate from high school. He said that the fundamental right of an American democracy is the right to vote, and that when people have to stand in line for 4 or 5 hours in order to vote, that's undemocratic and violates their rights. Well, that's political speak. What he really means is this is a pitch for open voting so that you can vote for 2 or 3 weeks before the election, and that you can vote by mail and you don't have to go there. That is an absolute recipe for voter fraud. What the Democrats do in states where that's allowed is they go door to door and get people to sign up right there to vote. Or they'll go into a nursing home and pass around and make sure everybody votes. It basically eliminates the secret ballot. It's why Democrats lead 2-1 among early voting. It's a gimmick to permit voter fraud. Let's remember a chilling statistic. Every single state that has a voter ID law, photo ID, Obama lost. And every state that he carried does not have a voter ID law. This is a recipe for ballot fraud. And then he had the gall, the unmitigated gall, to talk about Newtown and all of these horrific massacres and omit the one step that would stop them, which is a uniformed police officer in every school. He originally flirted with this idea in his initial thoughts after Newtown, and now he's proposing a whole series of things that would have nothing to do with stopping the Newtown massacre. Background checks are very important, but it was the guy's mother that bought the gun. She passed the checks with flying colors. What is needed is we have 800,000 cops in America, 100,000 schools, put the cops in the schools. I was very encouraged by one thing he said, which is that he would do whatever is necessary to stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons. Now, he said that before, but usually in the same breath that he speaks about economic sanctions. Here it was very clear, I think, that he was going beyond economic sanctions and hinting at the possibility of military intervention, which I think was a very positive step. But when you look at Barack Obama's speech, if we're going to take the same high level of spending, remember Obama's raised spending from $3 trillion to $4 trillion during his presidency. If we're going to take that level of spending, lock it in, not do any budget cuts, ratify it by tax increases, and make it permanent, and he's expanded federal regulations by almost 50%. If you let those two things happen and stay, there's never going to be an economic recovery. There hasn't been one. There won't be one now. The micro steps he proposed, doing this and doing that and doing the other thing, will ultimately produce a bill that makes it impossible for the American economy to recover. It's like somebody who says, I'm going to free myself of debt, but in the meantime, here's my shopping list. I want to buy these 20 or 30 things. And ultimately, the debt vitiates and offsets all of the positives, all of the joy you could get from all the stuff on the shopping list. But I think most Americans are getting that. And I think that Obama's rhetoric is going to ring more and more hollow as it's clear that the economy is not recovering, but in fact is probably headed back down again. Thanks a lot for watching.